Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Old Head on the Porch. I don't even remember the last time I did one of these. Have I even done an Old Head on the Porch in 2021? It seems like it's been months since I've done one of these. And today it's a very wet and gloomy Old Head on the Porch. It's funny because this week I'm like, you know what? I haven't done an Old Head on the Porch in a little while. I'm going to do one of those. And Mother Nature was like, you think so? But, we have a little spot of no rain for, at least for now. So I decided to come here and sit with you guys and talk about some things going on in the world of rock and metal as I normally do. And also, as I normally do, I'm going to try a new beer this time. This time, the beer I'm going to be trying is called a Brew GK from Eighth Wonder Brewery right here in Houston, Texas. And Brew GK is a play off of the name UGK, which is a hip-hop group. This is part of the H-Town hip-hop series of beers. And this is a apple Kolsch, which is a Kolsch-style beer brewed with apple juice, which is, okay. So I'm going to give it a shot. Let's see how we... I don't think I've had very many apple-infused beers. Oh, okay. All right. Cool. It says a Bun B collaboration. Bun B was in UGK. He's now solo artist. Very famous Houston rapper, if you even follow hip-hop. We're not talking about hip-hop today as much as I do like to talk about that at times. There's not a lot of things to talk about in the world of rock and metal, but I think the couple of things that I'm going to touch on are big, meaty topics. So I'm just going to, as I normally do, just off the top of my head, shoot from the hip, as they say, and talk about these things. Hold on, one more of these. So the first thing that everyone's been talking about is the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So they announced the 2021 inductees into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I think the big deal in the metal world is the fact that Iron Maiden was nominated, but then didn't get voted in. And I was a little surprised because, Iron Maiden are one of the biggest bands in the world. Like I think, maybe looking at it as an American, if you don't really know, you don't really grasp the scope of how massive Iron Maiden are. Because they're big here, but they're massive in other parts of the world. So, and the majority of the world, really, everyone knows Iron Maiden. So it was interesting that they didn't get voted in. And honestly, to me, the thing that bothers me the most is the fact that the Foo Fighters got in. And look, I love Dave Grohl, and Nirvana is one of my favorite bands of all time. Very important band to me. And while I'm not really that into the Foo Fighters, I like some of their stuff. I wish nothing but the best for Dave and the crew. But I'm like, the weight of, I don't know, meaningfulness of Iron Maiden and then Foo Fighters. I guess to some people, Foo Fighters music is meaningful to their lives. I understand that. But they haven't been around long enough, and I don't think they've made the same kind of impact, even though they may have sold more records. So to me, I was just like, I don't know. That's kind of... If I was Dave Grohl, the first thing I would have done is come out and said, why no Iron Maiden? But yeah, whatever, he's a nice guy. The thing that annoys me about all of this isn't the fact that Iron Maiden didn't get in. It's the fact that this is now another opportunity for really close-minded individuals, and to use a word that is all-encompassing of who they are, bigots. It's now another opportunity for them to make claims about woke culture, because the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is inducting like Jay-Z And I don't know, did LL Cool J get in? I don't know. I voted for him, but I don't know if he got in. But that's the thing that annoys me, is like, please don't give these idiots any more fuel for shit for them to complain about. Because every post you see, it's not about Foo Fighters. It's like, Iron Maiden didn't get in and Jay-Z gets in. This is woke culture bullshit. Which, that's the new buzzword for complete idiots. Like the idea of woke culture as your complaint, it just highlights you as an idiot, and probably a shitty person. But I have no problem. I would rather Jay-Z get in than the Foo Fighters. I don't know why. I just feel like he, worldwide and in what he's accomplished as a hip-hop artist, is more important than what the Foo Fighters accomplished. But there's also the argument that the Hall of Fame is called the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I understand that. It's weird that they started inducting all these different acts that aren't quote-unquote rock and roll. But it doesn't really bother me that much, because at the end of the day, all of the music gets traced all the way back to the blues, and there you go. It's all connected. So I almost feel like the idea of rock and roll is not really the same thing that it once was. Because, you know, you have sayings out there. Like, people say shit like "party like a rock star," and they don't mean be in a rock band. It's just it's the idea. It's almost like a musical freedom, you know, kind of term. So that doesn't bother me, but it's another thing I think people complain about. And should they change the name of the Rock Hall to the Pop Music Hall, or just the Music Hall of Fame? But it doesn't sound as good as the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And to be completely honest, I would prefer it if they would just split things up and they had a Hip Hop Hall of Fame, because I'd rather go there anyway. Because that shit's very interesting to me. So, really, at the end of the day, I'm bummed that Iron Maiden didn't get in. I have a feeling they don't really care. But it's just one of those things where I guess I'm not a person that votes, and there are the people who vote are music industry insiders. I guess people from bands and producers and label people and whatever, and I think people who are already inducted also get to vote. And the interesting thing, the really big sort of bullshit thing that they do, is that they put out that thing online where you can go and vote, like the regular people can go vote. But the thing that I found out is that, you know, probably millions of people vote on who they want to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and the one artist that gets the most votes, they get one additional vote in the grand scheme of things. That's it. So kind of shitty, but I don't know, whatever. I don't really take it that seriously. I usually watch it because the shows are usually pretty entertaining, and sometimes I learn stuff about artists that I didn't already know about. See what I'm saying about these being meaty topics? I've already been talking for like fucking 7 minutes on this shit, but I don't care. Like, at the end of the day, I still love Iron Maiden. I think Jay-Z's great. I don't know if LL Cool J got in. If LL Cool J didn't get in and Jay-Z did, there's something wrong there. But I think LL Cool J may have gotten in too. Anyway, so like, it's one of those things where I think the people that want something to argue about or complain about, here you go, something new. And it's just fucking stupid. But maybe next year, Maiden. So let me have another drink. All right, so the next big topic that I'm going to talk about is one that, it's interesting. It blew up big. It was big everywhere, and then it got really quiet. But I'm going to bring it up again because that's the kind of person that I am. Dave Ellefson from Megadeth, literally caught with his pants down. So here's my 2 cents on that. So here's the way that I understand the story, because I didn't dig too deep, but I understand that the story is that somebody came out and posted videos of Dave Ellefson nude and masturbating online, and apparently it was with a girl who was 17 years old, and there were accusations of grooming. Look it up if you know what that means. And then very quickly there was a response from a girl who said she was the girl, and said that she was 19 at the time, that everything was consensual, and somebody else posted the shit online. That whole thing seems kind of fishy, but here's the thing. I'm going to say the same thing I said about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I don't really care, because I really feel like I don't know all the facts. If it came out definitively that there were children involved, then I'd be like, all right, Dave's a piece of shit, and it would be difficult for me to continue to listen to Megadeth, just because those things bother me. And I know that you're supposed to separate the art from the artist, but in some cases it's really hard. And it would suck if that's what happened. But I don't have any information telling me anything that I know is concrete. The one thing I do know is that apparently Dave Ellefson is married, not to this woman. And so really this is an issue between him and his wife. So I guess it's probably good that it went quiet, because it's none of our business at the end of the day. But like I said, if it was something illegal, I'd like to know if somebody in a band that I like is a piece of shit. I like to know these things. I'm sure I've said it before. But as it stands, it's just kind of a mystery of, well, it's some embarrassing shit. And unfortunately, I mean, I'm guessing his marriage will be affected somehow. And then along with that, doesn't he claim to be some kind of like really Christian kind of dude? And that doesn't seem filming yourself jerking off is following the good book. It's following some book. But it's interesting, so I don't really know what's going to happen. There's a part of me that thinks even if everything just becomes like, oh, it was a non-story, I think even the negative publicity will probably bother Dave Mustaine, and I think Dave Mustaine may actually kick Dave Ellefson out of the group. Don't quote me on that, but it's a prediction that you're going to all of a sudden see him not a part of the band. But who knows? It's very open at this point. The one thing that I do get annoyed by is when people want to jump to assuming that they have all the facts and then they know the answers. And that's the problem with the majority of people for me, is people, number one, are not able to admit that they're wrong, and number two, are not able to admit that maybe they don't know it all. If you had more people that were open to the fact that maybe they don't know everything and maybe they might be wrong, I think we'd have a world filled with better people. So I don't know the whole story. I just find it highly entertaining in this world of the internet and cameras and all this shit that, hey, you thought something was private and now everybody's seen your dick. So let's move on to lighter subjects. Those are the two big ones. I don't really know. Has anybody been watching the Anthrax 40th anniversary like documentary shorts that have been coming out? That's been the biggest thing for me. It's been a lot of fun. Like, they've been coming out like almost every day, it seems, and they've been covering every album and different periods. They've gotten up to Among the Living as I'm recording this. Today they had an episode where they talked a little bit about the tour that they were on for, I think, spreading the disease at the time when Cliff Burton died, because they were on tour with Metallica. And that was a pretty interesting episode. But I like this whole thing. Anthrax is one of my favorite bands, and I like getting these really in-depth documentaries and discussions about stuff, because even, I know I probably already know maybe 80% of it, but that 20% that I don't know, I'm like, that's pretty cool. I do really hope that they put something cool out for their 40th anniversary. I don't know what that would be. I mean, they've already been reissuing albums. We're not due for a Sound of White Noise reissue this year if they're going by like anniversaries. And besides, they just put out a bullshit version of Sound of White Noise that I'm sure they received some money for without really doing anything. Watch my previous video about that Stomp 442 reissue. Anyway, so yeah, that's a cool thing. I just like, and then I guess pretty soon Metallica is going to be their 45th? Are they on their 40th anniversary too? Fuck, I don't even know. They started at around the same time, so it would be 40th for them as well. Was it 81 when they started? Anyway, I don't know. I know they did a big thing for their 30th. I'm just thinking out loud, and this is really boring. I'm sorry. This beer is really good. I wouldn't drink a shitload of these, but it's good for a change. So I guess to wrap it up, I don't have a whole lot more to talk about. The Lollapalooza lineup came out today. It's funny because like there's a lot of really great like festivals. I don't like going to festivals. There's too many people. It's too hot. It's too hard to get to a good spot to see a band I want to see. I don't like being stuck in between a bunch of people. That's not the kind of person that I am. So I usually don't go. And then usually a lot of the festivals where I see a lineup and I go, "Ooh, I'd like to go to that." It's always nowhere near where I live. But the Lollapalooza one was funny because it came out, and I'm just looking at the lineup and I'm all like, no, Limp Bizkit. Because there's something funny about where my life led me to where like I'm now 43 years old and there's a big music festival, and the only name that jumps out as me as something that I would like to go see is Limp fucking Bizkit. Who would have thought? But that's just fascinating to me. There's not a lot of rock. I mean, there's rock. You know, don't get me started on that shit. And everybody, of course, online is just like, "What? Why Limp Bizkit?" And to be fair, it's kind of cool because they're pretty high up there in the billing, or at least on the poster anyway. And so I'm just like, "Oh, cool! They're gonna get back out there. Maybe we'll get new music." I honestly, I want that band to come back and thrive again. I know there's a lot of like bullshit tied to the fans that they had at the time they were huge, that it's going to be hard for them to shake, but I know what that's like. Sometimes the fans of a band can really ruin a band for people, you know. But yeah, that's really all I have to talk about on the Porch. I'm glad that it's I've had some drips. I don't know if you've seen them, but no rain. It's supposed to come back tonight, and then raining in tomorrow, and then the next day there's like tornado warnings and flood warnings. And so you know, if for some reason my house starts getting washed away, I'll film a video just so like everybody can see it, because you know, maybe that'll finally get me a lot of views on YouTube. So anyway, well, thank you for joining me on the Porch. I hope you got some kind of entertainment out of this. I don't really have a lot to talk about, which is why I don't do these very often. And honestly, I don't know who the audience for these is. I know a few of you enjoy these, but I feel like this is for the major old head fans out there that like to hear me just babbling on a porch with a beer. But if it says you and you made it all the way through, I appreciate it. And make sure that you're watching my other videos. Make sure you're listening to the Cranked and Ranked podcast. We just finished Metallica. That was fun. But yeah, that's all I got for you. Thanks for joining me on the Porch. You guys can go home now. I'm going to stay out here and finish this delicious Brew GK beer from 8th Wonder Brewery. All right. See you guys soon.